Mr. Wilson is the legal advisor of ICJ, International Commission of Jurists. He's an expert on issue of disability. His expertise is phenomenal academically and also in the academic spheres. And he's on a good footing to give us the perspective of the NGOs to see.
Thank you very much. I will proceed with the protocol that has already been established, and I'm glad to be seated in this distinguished panel. And in order to take full advantage of the 5 minutes that have been allocated to me, I will avoid restating or rehashing what has already been mentioned by the previous speakers. But first to mention that as a person with disability myself, and as on behalf of persons with disabilities, some of whom are in this room, we are very excited that we have a protocol that recognizes our aspirations, contextualizes our specific experiences in Africa, which has now entered into force. And in this respect, we also acknowledge that African member states, including my country, have expressed their commitment to ensure that they recognize the rights of persons with disabilities. A case in point that I would use to show this commitment is that we have been told by the previous speakers, which is correct, that the protocol does not establish new rights. What it does, it supplements the rights that are already recognized on other instruments. So for instance, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, but also the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Now, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities has so far been ratified by 53 African states, which means that persons or the African states are committed to recognizing the rights of persons with disabilities in their national specific context. So in acknowledging this commitment, we also urge member states of Africa to ensure that they ratify the Africa Disability Protocol, that they disseminate and implement the protocol in order to ensure that persons with disabilities are in the same footing with other people in the society. In implementing the Africa Disability Protocol, it is also important that we review, amend, or even repeal our national laws which expressly take away some rights of persons with disabilities. I will give an example. One of the things that we have identified in research and with respect to the experiences of persons with disabilities whom we work with, several laws in almost all countries in Africa, Kenya for instance, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and even South Africa, take away the rights of persons with intellectual and psychosocial disabilities to exercise their legal capacity. What that means is that some categories of persons with disabilities are denied the right to make their own decisions, and other people are then mandated to make decisions on their behalf. This is mainly the situation for persons with intellectual and psychosocial disabilities, but also manifests itself with respect to other persons with other types of disabilities. So in addition to calling upon states which have not yet ratified the Africa Disability Protocol to do so, we also urge those which have already ratified to ensure that they review their national laws and ensure that they are compliant with the Africa Disability Protocol. And one of the critical components that the Africa Disability Protocol includes is the duties of persons with disabilities themselves, which is very African. The African Charter already expressly recognizes this. The Protocol on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities also establishes or recognizes that persons with disabilities have a duty in the society. And one of these critical duties is to be involved or to participate in all processes, in all sectors, in our states. So as we ratify, as we implement the protocol and take these measures, for instance, reviewing our national laws, it is important that we ensure the meaningful involvement of persons with disabilities in these processes. Meaningful involvement does not only mean having them in the room. It means taking their perspectives, their experiences, and their suggestions into consideration before reaching any decision. And this is a duty that does not only apply to member states, but also applies to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and other stakeholders in Africa. In finalizing my statement, it is important for me to acknowledge or even state that as a person with disability myself, I am blind or in other terms visually impaired, I may not be in the best position to represent the experiences of a person with intellectual disability. A person who has a physical disability may not be in the best position to represent the experiences of a person with a psychosocial disability. In this respect, it is important that as we meaningfully engage persons with disabilities, we ensure that we engage persons with all types of disabilities and make sure that they are involved in all processes. Thank you, and those are my submissions for now.
Voilà.